Interaction of primary and derivative logical meanings, zeugma and pun. According to Galperin, there are special stylistic devices which make a word materialize distinct dictionary meanings. They are zeugma and pun. Zeugma is a use of a word in the same grammatical but different semantic relations to two adjacent words in the context. The semantic relations being on the one hand literal and on the other transferred. For example, Dora plunging at once into privileged intimacy and into the middle of the room. Pun, also referred to as paronomasia, is another stylistic device based on the interaction of two well-known meanings of a word or a phrase. The only reliable distinguishing feature between zeugma and pun is a structural one. Zeugma is a realization of two meanings with the help of a verb which is made to refer to different subjects or objects, direct or indirect. And pun is more independent. Like any stylistic device, it must depend on a context, but the context may be of a more expanded character, sometimes even as large as a whole work of emotive prose. Pun and zeugma semantically are united into a small group as they have much in common both in the mechanism of their formation and in their function. They are quite popular in the stylistic tradition of the English-speaking countries. Their effect is humorous. Context leads to simultaneous realization of two meanings. The formation of pun may vary. One speaker's utterance may be wrongly interpreted by the other due to the existence of different meanings of the misinterpreted word or its homonym. For example, have you been seeing any spirits or taking any? The first spirits refers to supernatural forces. The second one to strong drinks. Punning may be also the result of the speaker's intended violation of the listener's expectation. We deal with zeugma when polysemantic verbs that can be combined with nouns of most varying semantic groups are deliberately used with two or more homogeneous members which are not connected semantically. As in such example, he took his hat and his leave. Zeugma is highly characteristic of English prose of previous centuries. Pun seems to be more varied and resembles zeugma in its humorous effect only. Pun is based on the effect of deceived expectation, because unpredictability in it is expressed either in the appearance of the elements of the text, unusual for the reader, or in the unexpected reaction of the addressee of the dialogue. Pun is one of the most favored devices of Oscar Wilde. For example, Lord Darlington, nowadays we're all of us so hard up that the only pleasant things to pay are compliments. They are the only things we can pay. And now about antonomasia. Antonomasia is a lexical stylistic device in which a proper name is used instead of a common noun or vice versa. In other words, it is a result of interaction between logical and nominal meaning of a word. Logical meaning serves to denote concepts and thus to classify individual objects into groups, into classes. The nominal meaning of a proper name is suppressed by its logical meaning and acquires the new nominal component. So when the proper name of a person who is famous for some reasons is put for a person having the same feature. For example, her husband is an Othello, or a common noun is used instead of a proper name. For example, I agree with you, Mr. Logic, or my dear Simplicity, etc. Nominal meaning has no classifying power, for it applies to one single individual object with the aim not of classifying it constituting a definite group, but on the contrary with the aim of singling out of the group of similar objects, of individualizing one particular object. The word Mary does not indicate if the denoted object refers to the class of women, girls, boats, cats, etc. But in example, he took little satisfaction in telling each Mary something. The attribute each, used with the name, turns it into a common noun denoting any woman. So here we deal with a case of antonomasia of the first type. Antonomasia is created mainly by nouns, more seldom by attributive combinations, as in Dr. Fresh Air, or phrases as in the Mr. What's His Name, etc. And now about allusion. An allusion is a figure of speech that makes a reference to or representation of a place, event, literary work, myth, or work of art, either directly or by implication. It is usually an implicit reference, perhaps to another work of literature or art, to a person or an event. An allusion may enrich the work by association and give it depth. Abrams defined allusion as a brief reference, explicit or indirect, to a person, place, or event, or to another literary work or passage. Thus, allusion is a reference to an object or circumstance that has occurred or existed in an external context. In the most traditional sense, allusion is the use of previous texts, though the word also has come to include references to or from any source, including film, art, music, or real events. An allusion may be drawn from history, geography, literature, or religion. Allusions in writing help the reader to visualize what's happening by evoking a mental picture, but the reader must be aware of the allusion and must be familiar with what it alludes to. Allusions are commonly made to the Bible, nursery rhymes, myths, famous fictional or historical characters or events, writers, for example, Shakespeare. And now let us deal with exercises connected with lexical stylistic devices. Mary frowned and said, "I believe that taking drugs is like playing with fire." I walked along the beach and listened to the ocean. My sadness was as unending as the waves. Don't tell Mother that her cookies taste like lumps of sand. Sam waited impatiently for his older brother to calm down. Bill, I think you're acting like a baby, he said. Karen was offended when I said that she was as flaky as a snowstorm. Be careful when you go out. The sidewalk is as slippery as greased glass. I'm not comfortable about the situation. I feel like a bug sitting under a magnifying glass. I hoped our play would be a success and last for many performances. However, I guess it will last as long as a balloon in a roomful of kittens. I really like Patty. Her heart is as soft as a feather pillow. Cheryl's smile is as sweet as a lullaby. And now analyze various cases of play on words, indicate which type is used, how it is created, what effect it adds to the utterance. Dorothy, at my statement, had clapped her hand over her mouth to hold down laughter and chewing gum. I believed all men were brothers. She thought all men were husbands. I gave the whole mess up. In December 1960, Naval Aviation News, a well-known special publication, explained why a ship is referred to as she, because there is always a bustle around her, because there is usually a gang of men with her, because she has waist and stays, because it takes a good man to handle her right. When I'm dead, I hope it may be said, his sins were scarlet, but his books were red. Most women up London nowadays seem to furnish their rooms with nothing but with orchids, foreigners, and French novels. Bren, I'm not planning anything. I have not planned a thing in 3 years. I'm not a planner. I'm a liver. Babbitt respected bigness in anything, in mountains, jewels, muscles, wealth, or words. My mother was wearing her best gray dress and gold brooch and a faint pink flush under each cheekbone. Hooper laughed and said to Brody, "Do you mind if I give Ellen something?" "What do you mean?" Brody said. He thought to himself, "Give her what? A kiss? A box of chocolate? A punch in the nose? A present, it's nothing really." "Good morning," said Bilbo, and he meant it. The sun was shining, and the grass was very green.